I don't know off of tonight. Do you see the needle moving in one direction or another in the quarterback battle? This looks like a hold for Cam, I would say.
I would say it's been a hold for Cam all week long for the most part, and I've sort of been on the record saying that a hold for Cam is almost a win for Mac, because if the veteran quarterback is just kind of holding ground against the rookie and not making real strides to outplay the rookie, then maybe the rookie is closer, right? Maybe the rookie is closer than further away, if that makes sense. Now, Cam, I really thought was extremely impressive tonight, and I want to give him his due because he played very, very well. And we talked about the starters not playing tonight for Philadelphia, but I think the key thing that you saw out of Cam, and they talked about it a lot on the broadcast as well, was the process, right? Regardless of who you're going up against, you have to have clean process, and you have to show out on tape that you have the things down that you need to have down in order to execute against better competition. So when you look at what Cam did out there tonight, Cam's footwork, his rhythm, his accuracy, his ability to go through his reads, but most importantly, if you watch how his feet aligned with the throws that he was making down the field and his ability to navigate the pocket, step up around the rush, make things happen with his eyes down the field, and sort of feel the pressure. I think over the last year or so, and even against Washington, look, Chase Young beat Isaiah Wynn on that play. That's on Isaiah Wynn. That's not necessarily on Cam. But we've seen in the past last year, and maybe at times last week, even just a tiny little bit, that Cam is not always the best at sensing pressure when his eyes are down the field. Tonight, he moved around the pocket extremely well. The throw that really stood out to me was the one to Kendrick Bourne, the 23-yarder. The touchdown to Myers was nice, but that's a first read throw. Myers is his first option on that play.
The drive that stalled with those three throws. Those were three of the best throws and the best series of throws we've seen Newton make. Certainly, you might even say through all of camp, and dating back to last year in terms of all of the stuff you mentioned. One of them was even to the right side of the field, which you don't see him doing very often. So that stretch there, which didn't result in points, was actually the best. Those three throws on that drive where they ended up not getting points on the Nordin missed field goal might have been his best three throws.
I thought the 23-yarder to Bourne was one of the better throws that we've seen from Cam, maybe since week 2 in Seattle of last year, right? The ability there, he sees the two high safeties pre-snap, and then the safety to his left is going to rotate in and buzz into the box. And when he buzzes into the box, he knows he's got single high with the crosser coming across or the dig route coming across from Kendrick Bourne. And as soon as that safety rotates down, the running back picks him up, right? The safety kind of goes and gravitates towards the release of the back out of the backfield, and that opens up the window to Kendrick Bourne. And you see Cam start on the left side, look the safety down to the running back, then come back into the middle of the field and throw the dart to Bourne over the middle. That's a second read throw, or maybe a first read throw that Cam was manipulating the coverage on to get to that Bourne dig. And we would have to know the playbook and know the call to know exactly what read in the progression it was. But the process there was exactly what you were looking for from Kendrick Bourne and Cam Newton. And that was a great throw right there from Cam. If you watch his feet and watch his head and watch how he looks left, pulls the coverage that way, then comes back over the middle and darts it to Bourne. That type of throw, if he can consistently string those types of plays together at practice and then also in the games, obviously, as well, then that's the type of throw that definitely has you sit here after the game and say, if that Cam Newton shows up, then the Patriots are going to play him, right? That Cam Newton is going to win this job and keep this job, at least for the time being. If the Cam that we've seen in the past comes back where his footwork is a little bit sloppy or he's not getting through the progression like he was tonight, then that is the Cam that is going to lose out to Mac Jones. So Cam tonight, especially that throw to Bourne, I thought was as good as it gets for Cam Newton.
So again, now what you have is, and this is where the conversation gets interesting, by all accounts, and you have a huge, and you see it in the chat and you see it on Twitter. There's obviously a big pull for Mac to be the guy, and I understand why, because he's got the higher ceiling. You would think we've seen, and everyone has seen a year of Cam. So you've seen, as you said, when the footwork gets sloppy or when he can't sense the pressure, and you've seen those things that seemed to limit, how far the Patriots could theoretically go, even when Cam is playing at this level. So he plays well, and then Mac comes in, and you'll have your opinion on this. Everyone will have their opinion there. For my money, Mac was better, and not because anything Cam did wrong, but again, it's the same thing we talked about with last week, which is running the offense, going through the reads, the progressions, all of those things. I know you probably lit up there and you were saying it on Twitter, but that little jukey in the pocket move where he ducks out of the pressure and hits Gunner with that dart showed off, one, Brady-like pocket presence that I know made everybody's eyes pop, and then two, a good bit of zip on a ball, where people were questioning his arm strength a little bit after watching him float a couple last week. In addition to that, another incredible deep ball, maybe even better than the ball to Wilkerson that he threw to Harry, which Harry dropped. We'll get to Harry in a little bit, but it wasn't captain check down like last week. He threw the ball, I think it was six throws. He was 4 of 6 trying to get the ball 10 yards downfield or more. So, he did try to, try to open up, but again, I understand it was against 2s and 3s where Cam was kind of 1s and 2s. But again, everything you see from Mac seems like he's getting it. And again, they're throwing a ton at him, and nothing about tonight made you think he's not ready for kind of what the NFL is about.
So the two things that I see most consistently that I love out of Mac, and I think that a lot of us love the obvious stuff, right? The quick processing, the accuracy, all those types of things. The first thing that really stands out to me when Mac comes in the game, whether it's in practice or in these preseason games, is the pace of the offense when he's under center. The offense moves faster when he is in the game, and the offense can get into that no huddle, can get into some empty stuff, can get into some spread stuff, and just move down the field really, really quickly. That 17-play drive that went 91 yards that the Patriots went on that first series for Mac Jones, it was a 17-play drive that didn't feel like a 17-play drive. And then the drive to open right. And then the drive to open the third quarter was a no huddle drive where Mac is literally what were 15 training camp practices and 2 preseason games in, and Mac Jones is calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage, and he's a rookie, and he's going up to the line and he's saying, you go over there, you go over here. He's holding up the play because Gunnar Olszewski was taking a piss or something like that and forgot to get out on the field after halftime, and he's literally running the offense at the line of scrimmage by himself. Right. And that is just, it's really impressive for a guy that's a couple of months into his NFL career. The throw that really stood out to me, well, the first one was the one to N'Keal Harry early on, that 3rd and 13, right? And you talk about accuracy.
Against the zone, Harry comes back, sits down, he makes the throw,
Again, and you talk about accuracy and you talk about decision making. Those things are obviously necessary foundations. But watch Mac Jones's shoulders on that play, because what he does is he kind of gives a little shoulder fake like this to the defense, like he's going to throw it outside the numbers, and that just pulls the outside zone defender that's sitting on Harry's outside hip out of the throwing lane just enough for him to put that ball there, right? And those little subtle movements in the pocket and the little subtle shoulder fakes and pump fakes and things like that Mac Jones did at Alabama, he now is doing them here in the league. And those types of things just are really, really good quarterback play, right? It's just, they're little subtle things, and it really makes a big difference between the way that the defense is going to play. It manipulates the defense down the field. The other throw that really stood out was the one to Gunner, the first one to Gunner, I believe it was. He has Devin Ross coming on the shallow dig route. Gunner runs the deep dig. It's a levels concept right behind it. And he, again, looks left, pulls the defense over there, comes back to his right, sees that the underneath coverage is clearing out with Devin Ross's route, and zings it to Gunner right up the middle. Those types of plays and the process in which he runs that type of offense is just, for a guy that has basically been in this system for a couple of months, it's extremely impressive. And that's why I get to the point where I get to with these two quarterbacks is Cam played very, very well tonight. There's no denying that. And this version of Cam Newton is a solid NFL quarterback. But if Mac Jones is doing these types of things already in August of his rookie preseason and his rookie training camp, what is Mac Jones going to look like in 2 months? What's he going to look like in 4 months? What's he going to look like in year 2? Those are the types of things that are really going to stand out, I think, to Patriots fans, is this guy's just going to keep getting better and better.
That's what again, you hope. So again, everyone wants to figure out who's the week 1 starter, but you are looking at things, you're trying to look not just at week 1, you're trying to look, as you said, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. Like, did you get something in this guy? Like, did you draft a guy who's Jimmy Garoppolo, or did you draft a guy, who's the next Garoppolo, or did you draft a guy who's the next, fifth starter for 15 years? I'm not saying Brady because it's stupid, but, did you draft something real? And so you get these glimpses, which makes you feel better. And I know a lot of Patriots fans probably, and I, myself included, were experiencing a lot of, Justin Fields envy, over the weekend, seeing him go and ball out.
Don't even get me started. I was on the Justin Fields train all draft season. Both
you and I were heavy into Fields. And I remember we were doing our draft show, and when it looked like it was possible that they were going to pounce, we were up here, and when they didn't, we were down here. So, we saw it. And again, I am still, dubious a little bit, but Mac's physical limitations, because he has to be so good at all of the things you mentioned in order to be successful. But so far you're seeing it. And, that's kind of what that's the name of the game. All of the things that Mac has been doing is all you can expect from him to do. I actually thought a really interesting, Tom Curran wrote an interesting angle on the story, which is, it's not Mac versus Cam, but it's Mac versus Mac. At this point, you're throwing everything you can at the guy to see, is he ready? I mean, they're trying, there's no question here. They're trying to not make him the starter, to see if he can be the starter. Their mind is not made up. It's not we'll ease the rookie in. They're literally, he's getting a pop quiz every single day to see whether or not he can pass it. And he keeps doing it to a degree, or he's not failing.
That's what those no huddle drives are about. Those are 2-minute drives, right? They're trying to simulate. That's what Belichick said after the Washington game, when a reporter asked him why the no huddle right out of the half. And he said, well, we were trying to simulate a 2-minute drill. Right. We wanted to see what Mac looks like in those scenarios. So 3rd downs, 2 minutes, a red area. Those are the types of areas of the field and the types of kind of options of the game, right? A bit, times of the game that the Patriots want to see which quarterback rises, right? Because every QB that's worth a damn can make a good 1st and 10 throw. Right, especially that first drive of the game when you're on script, both Mac and Cam, then when they've been practicing a couple of series of passing concepts all week long, and they call them against the right defense, it always looks good, right? And what happens later on in the game after you get off the opening script and you're 3rd and 8 and you need 9 yards? Who looks better in that situation? When it's the 4th quarter and there's 1:59 left and you're down by 6 and you need a touchdown to win the game, who looks better in those situations? Those are the types of scenarios that in practice and in these preseason games that the Patriots coaching staff tries to create for these quarterbacks as much as possible. And that's why on day 2 of joint practices against the Eagles, both teams worked heavily in the red zone almost exclusively, was because they want to see how their QBs and how their defenses and how their offenses work in the red area. So Cam, to me tonight, did absolutely everything he needed to do to solidify his spot as the week 1 starter. And I'm not coming off the fact that I've said all along, I know people think I hate Cam. I've said all along that Cam is going to start week 1. And I think Mike Lombardi, he said it on his podcast today, made the best point about this whole thing. Once you go to Mac, you can't go back. Right, you can't put the rookie in, and then if he stinks for 3 weeks, put the veteran back in the lineup, because then the rookie's confidence just torpedoes downward. Right, so the best thing to do for the Patriots has always been to slow play this, right, and to wait the first month, wait the first 6 weeks, whatever it has to be, to put Mac into the starting lineup and to make him the quarterback. And Cam is going to start week 1. Cam has played well enough in camp and tonight to start in week 1. But ultimately, you see what Mac is going to become and where Mac is going, and you have to like that a lot too.
Well, and again, when you're talking about Lombardi, obviously his kid works for the Patriots. So,
yeah, and he was out there talking to Bill at practice on Tuesday, I think it was, for
so he's out there
an hour. Right.
He's got Bill's ear, so you wonder how much of that is his opinion and how much does he kind of have some inside info there. And it does make sense. It is hard to go back. What I'll counter with, and what I said last week too, is if it's happening, if it's inevitable, it is going to be rough anyway and abrupt when every single week you're looking for an excuse, or fans are, or media are. And again, this stuff doesn't bother Bill, but that stuff seeps into the locker room where it's all, is it time for Mac now? One bad throw, second quarter in, bench him, bring in Mac at the half. I mean, last year people are crying for friggin' Jarrett Stidham, and and he wasn't the answer there. When you've got a Porsche in the garage, it's like, can we take this thing out for a ride or not? And that stuff is going to come up early and often if Cam goes out and struggles. Of course, if Cam goes out and plays well, then you just live with it. But I don't see a world in which they don't insert Mac into the starting lineup as QB1 at some point during the season. So I don't know what waiting does for you there. I really don't know, particularly because they do like to use those first 4 games as kind of like a preseason. At that point, it would make sense to say, here you go, 4 weeks, figure it out. So I don't know. I really am. I'm really torn here. I'm still leaning towards Mac as the starter, even though I think all conventional wisdom is saying it's going to be Cam.
Yeah, it's a tough decision to make because, again, I do think that you have to put a lot of stock in the practices that you saw against the Eagles, and both quarterbacks did struggle at times in both those practices. And the reason for Mac that maybe you have some hesitancy starting him right away is in those practices they really saw Mac kind of put the ball up for grabs a couple of times, right? On Monday, he threw 2 deep balls right into coverage and put the ball up for grabs. Then on Tuesday, he threw an interception to Devin Asiasi in red zone work. So you worry about those types of plays where he kind of forces it a little bit, and you want to see a little bit less of that before you put him in the lineup. But at the same time, I don't know. I think that Cam has these moments like he did tonight. 8 of 9, super sharp, looks fantastic. And then the next day he'll come out and he won't look as good, right? And he'll look a little bit more like he did last year. And I thought in Monday and Tuesday, not as much Tuesday, but certainly Monday, that was a day where Cam looked a lot like 2020 Cam. And that's sort of what worries you about going with him as well.
Yeah. And again, for those out there who don't know, Evan was down there in Philly checking out the practices. He's been at every single training camp practice, save for one, but that's okay. We'll give you a pass.
It was a Shells day. All right.
It was a lazy Sunday. But this is minor, but the Mac knee brace thing, it was a sleeve. And then today it looked like a slightly more substantial brace, and then he slid and he looked a little hobbled getting up. Obviously, you're not getting anything out of the Patriots when it comes to injury information, but that's not great. Whatever's there, it didn't seem to hinder him the rest of the game, so I guess it wasn't bad, but looks like he's definitely dealing. That doesn't look preventative as he had said at the beginning of the year.
If it's preventative, I don't know.
That was the line he gave.
Yeah,
and that's not right.
Shocking. On last Thursday against Washington, he did take a low hit to that front leg, and that's that front plant leg for the right-handed quarterback that I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx the kid, but that's the leg, right? That's the leg that when you step into the throw, and that's the leg that's exposed, that's out there. So that's a risky leg for all quarterbacks, especially guys like Mac who are pocket QBs that want to be able to step up into the pocket and make those types of throws down the field. So you do worry about that front leg with all those types of QBs, whether it's Tom Brady or it's Mac Jones or it's Peyton Manning all those years, or whoever the stationary quarterback is that's going to kind of just stay in his 6x6 box in the pocket and make those throws. That lead leg is certainly something that you always are concerned about.